Hi, everyone. My name is Cameron Weiner, and I will be your first trainer for this Engage training series. Engage is a capacity expansion modeling tool that's developed by the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. And Engage is based on Calliope, which is an open source capacity expansion model developed at ETH Zurich University and maintained at the TU Delft University. We'd like to thank USAID, ANSARCE, Electricité de Haiti, IDB, and the World Bank for sponsoring this training and supporting the engagement and effort that goes into long-term energy system planning. So for a little bit of background on how Engage started, Engage was first developed by NREL in collaboration with the Hawaii State Energy Office. That work was originally sponsored by the U.S. Department of Energy's Energy Transitions Initiative. And the goal is to support the State Energy Office in answering their own energy system planning questions. And so during this collaboration, Engage, the tool, was developed, and it was designed around 4 key design themes. Those being accessibility, flexibility, communication, and collaboration. And these design themes inform all the decisions we make for the development of Engage features and capabilities. And so throughout the rest of this session, we're going to walk through these 4 different design themes and use them to describe Engage, its capabilities, and also some of its limitations. So, what does accessibility look like? First, Engage is free to use. Users don't have to pay anything to operate Engage. They only have to create an Engage account and have internet access to a compatible web browser, that being either Chrome or Firefox. Another component of accessibility is that Gauge is a cloud-based web application. So all of Engage's capabilities, whether that's designing or running a model, take place online. So users don't have to download or install any software locally to be able to use Engage, and Engage's models and data are all handled on NREL servers. And then finally, Engage is user-friendly. And it's user-friendly in the sense that you don't have to have any deep knowledge of programming or computer science to be able to use Engage. And although the tool still requires a significant learning curve, Engage has been designed so that configuring and running the model requires minimal, if any, coding experience. Engage is also designed to be a flexible tool that can adapt to a number of real-world technologies, real-world conditions, and real-world timelines, depending on the needs of the user. And Engage can do this by relying on an open source software called Calliope. And we'll cover Calliope in more detail during next training sessions, but all you need to know for now is that Calliope has 2 main features that make it a powerful modeling tool for Engage. The first feature is its use of archetype or general purpose technology representations. Each of these archetype technology representations can be altered by the user to model many different types of technologies and systems, from electrical systems to fuel systems to water systems. And there are several different standard archetype technologies, like supply, as you can see here, transmission, and demand, as well as more complex archetypes like conversion and storage technologies. The second feature in Engage involves what Calliope calls carriers. And these carriers represent energy or commodities that move through the modeled system. They can be defined as any energy form or commodity that the user is interested in modeling and measuring. So that could be something like power or water, diesel, hydrogen, etc. And so together, these general purpose carrier and archetype technology representations make up the building blocks of Engage. And they allow Engage to model a wide variety of different systems that can be composed of a mix of different technologies. So for example, on the simpler side, you could configure the supply archetype technology to represent a photovoltaics or a PV plant. And then you can configure and combine together these archetype components to represent a more complex technology or system. So for example, you could combine multiple archetypes together to represent a hydroelectric plant. You could also represent with some of the more complex archetype technologies, something like a combined heat and power plant. And ultimately, the technologies you configure can then be placed at user-defined locations to represent your desired system. So you can see these locations configured geographically on the map. And these user-defined locations are the third and final flexibility element of Engage. And because you as the user can define your own locations, Engage is also flexible to represent systems on a wide range of geographic scales, from very local small scales to countrywide or multi-country scales. So you can see here, you can assign technologies to those locations. And altogether, these general purpose elements of Engage, the technologies, the carriers, and the locations, can be used to represent a wide variety of systems at a wide variety of scales and geographic locations. So what does this actually look like in practice? Some examples of where Engage has been deployed include this Columbia model, where the Engage team developed a model that simulated the country's complex hydroelectric system. This hydroelectric system is responsible for a significant portion of Colombia's generation capacity, and it consists of a complex network of interconnected reservoirs, rivers, mountain tunnels, and dams. And for this case study, Engage modeled both the water flows through the hydroelectric dams, as well as the electricity generation. And they modeled the hydroelectric flows to represent the region's water availability, as well as we mentioned, the power that could be generated with that available water. And this complex hydroelectric model was only one element of the broader Columbia model, which also included existing thermal generators, as well as other renewable capacity expansion options like wind and solar. And so with these three elements, the hydroelectric system, the existing thermal, and the new renewable options, the model was used to analyze the future renewable generation portfolios that could allow Colombia to meet its future electricity demands. So another study, which Engage was applied in a novel way, was the study of electrification of commuter flight across the Mid-Atlantic region in the US. So working with NASA, the Engage team produced a charging infrastructure analysis across 200 regional airports to determine the energy and charging infrastructure needs of the electric commuter flights, as well as the grid impacts of fast charging electric commuter flights. And the model found that the grid impact of charging these planes would be very small when deployed with the most economic balance of grid, as well as on-site solar PV and battery energy storage systems, since airports have more than enough land to economically develop large photovoltaic systems to meet much of their projected electricity demands. And these are just some examples of Engage's applications and how the tool can be used to answer a wide range of energy questions flexibly. All right, and so Engage has been deployed by many stakeholders under a diverse set of policy settings across the globe. Examples include Hawaii, Colombia, as we mentioned. We've also used Engage in Puerto Rico, Argentina, and Indonesia. And you can read more about these case studies under NREL's publication page by searching Engage modeling. So specifically in Haiti, Engage can be used to help answer questions for Haiti's Energy Master Plan. Questions like, how can microgrids be effectively integrated with the bulk power system in Haiti? How would electrification impact Haiti's installed capacity? And questions like, what strategies could Haiti consider to bridge distributed power systems and enhance regional resilience? And so this is where it would be good to mention that every modeling tool, including Engage, has its own capabilities and limitations. And so although Engage is a super flexible tool, it's primarily a techno-economic tool. And it is designed to cost optimize the size of the technologies that are represented in the system. And this means Engage is primarily looking at minimizing the total costs of the system components. And of course, that's all within technology and other constraints that you set within the model. And this cost optimization approach makes Engage a great tool for things like modeling capacity expansion, its main purpose. For example, if you want to know how to meet your electricity demand, Engage can help you identify how much and of which technologies would be the most effective to build to meet your demand. It's also really helpful for modeling a wide range of technologies, from your traditional power sector assets to your more diverse energy systems and technologies. It's also good at modeling a wide range of carriers, so representing electricity, fuel, and other commodities. And then ultimately, it can also model resilience under some limited applications. It does not, however, make Engage a great tool for investigating topics like complex production cost or economic dispatch modeling. It is not able to represent power flow modeling or system dynamics modeling. So it's important to keep all of these things in mind. Engage is good at that cost optimization and technology representation front, but its limitations fall into these other categories. And we'll cover these limitations in more detail in later training sessions, but it's important to keep them in mind as you begin to dive into Engage. All right, so now on to the communication component of Engage. You'll also see that Engage is fitted with a variety of different features that make the tool communicative and more user-friendly than your typical modeling tool. And these features are represented in each step of the Engage modeling process, including the first step, which is data collection. So as you see in that video, in the time series tab, you can visualize the model's input data. And that's input data that you or other users have uploaded to Engage through Engage's interactive dashboard. And being able to visualize this data can be really handy when you're trying to understand changes over time in a demand profile, or how a renewable resource like wind varies throughout the day or the year. Engage also helps users visualize the systems they've modeled. For instance, the Scenarios tab, as you're seeing in the video, shows the users which technologies are activated for a model, as well as how the technologies relate to each other within the system and within that geographic context, as you can see in that video on the screen. And finally, after a user has run an Engage model scenario, Engage will display graphs and other visuals that capture important metrics. And so these metrics could be things like the resulting capacity of different technologies, as well as their fixed costs. And then finally, users also, in addition to these visualizations, can download the run's raw data for further processing and data visualizations. And so this high-level view of a model's outputs can be helpful to users when they're checking and troubleshooting their runs to see if the model behaved as they expected it to. All right, and so we covered accessibility, we've covered flexibility, and we've covered communication. So now we're on to our last design theme, which is collaboration. And unlike some other modeling tools where the model lives on one person's computer, Engage models and results can be accessed, downloaded, and edited by multiple users anytime and anywhere that they have internet access. And that's thanks to Engage's cloud-based application. Collaborative features have been added throughout the tool so that the user can update each other on what they've changed or what they've edited in the model. And so, for example, these features can be used to facilitate transparency between stakeholders. That could be both in the modeling methodology as well as on the data transparency front. Another example is that one that we utilize often as an Engage team, and that's allowing different team members to access the model to leverage different users' experiences and expertise in the design of one model. So as you can see in the video, we have people commenting within the model on this activities page. Different people can go in and view your work and describe what they're seeing as challenges, and you can document why you have represented things in certain ways within the model. Great. So now let's move on to an exercise. We've provided you with some background on Engage, and now you're ready to create your Engage account. And creating an account is relatively easy. As you can see in the video, first go ahead and visit the Engage login page. That's engage.nrel.gov. And after you first visit this login page, go ahead and click on the link that says register. As you saw in the video, they selected French. And so after you click on register, Engage will ask you for an email, your first name and your last name, your organization, and your password. And once you've completed those required fields, go ahead and click on the green button at the bottom that says Submit Registration. And so after you click on that button that says Submit Registration, you'll be sent an email with a link to confirm and activate your account. And so if you follow the link in your email, you should be prompted to If you follow that link in the email, you should be prompted to, sorry about that, there we go. You should be prompted to enter your login information again, and with your account fully registered and logged in, you'll be able to access the models page, as you see here. And on the models page, you will see some sample models at the bottom that we've made publicly available with example technologies pre-populated. Also in the top right corner, you'll see settings, how to set your preferred language, as well as your preferred time zone. Great. In the top left corner, you'll see 3 icons for Engage, Help, and Model Sharing. If you click on the Model Sharing tab, you'll be taken to a page where you can share any of your models with any user. If you click on the Help button, you'll find the contact information for Tom Harris, who's the project manager for Engage here at NREL. And you'll also find the most recent Calliope documentation. Again, that's that underlying software for Engage. And this link will take you to the user manual that was developed by Calliope, which can be helpful for users who are trying to understand what's going on behind the scenes of Engage. And then finally, the Engage icon at that top left corner will always return you to the models page, no matter where you are in the Engage web application. All right, so now that you have clicked on Engage in that top left corner and you have navigated back to your models page, we're going to go ahead and create a new model that we'll use in the training sessions moving forward. So as you can see in this video, right under that Create a New Model title, we're typing the name of the model that we'd like to create from scratch, Haiti_training_model. And then they select blank model and then click Create. Once you've done that, your new model should appear under My Models on your models page. Thank you. So this concludes our pre-recorded training webinar and your initial Engage orientation. If you have any questions or issues registering your account, please contact your primary trainer at the email address that they have provided. Thanks and have a good day.